Welcome everyone, and today I want to show you how you can start to use asset bundles from Databricks, as well as how you would deploy notebooks from your let's say a repository. Let's just say, for example, you've got notebooks here for Databricks, my first notebook, my second notebook, whatever, and you've got these here, and you want to push these to another Databricks workspace. Then I want to show you how to do that, just to show you that I've got this set up in Azure, where I've got two Databricks workspaces. I've got the dev workspace here, and this is launched this, and I've got the production one. There's a few things you're going to need access to, but let's try to go through this as quickly as possible. In the sake of time, we don't want to spend too long on this, but I want to show you that over here you have the production workspace, and you got the you can see the URL changes here. That's the dev one, and this is your production one. That could be anything in your environment. It could be like dev QA or dev test, whatever those environments are, and you can have multiple environments. Now, what you want to do is, I've set this up using the premium SKU, and it's got Unity catalog on it. So these are the new Databricks deployments. And what we're going to do is show you how you can deploy asset bundles into, at the moment, this will be deployed into probably my name here. So you can see there's the bundle work there. So everything that is in the GitHub repo has been pushed to this area. So that's one way of getting your files into a Databricks workspace. The other way I'm going to show you today is also with Azure DevOps, just using pure Databricks CLI, and you can do that as well. So here's all your, all your files. You can see I've got some notebooks in here, some other assets and such. I've got some files, I've got notebooks, as you can see. So how do we do this? You may have seen one of my other videos, which was how to connect Databricks to your VS Code using the Databricks tool to get to your Databricks workspaces. If you haven't seen that, go and watch that, and you go set this up. And the first time you do it, obviously, you're going to set up which Databricks workspace you want to connect to, and that's all there. I won't go through that now, but you can go and have a look. And what we're going to do today is focus on asset bundles, how to get create one, and then get all those notebooks and those artifacts and those assets from that folder, the entire folder, and then push it to a different workspace. And then also show you how to do it in GitHub Actions as well as Azure DevOps. So if you haven't yet, you go to my repo called Databricks-DevOps, and inside here I've got 3 ways to do this, right? First way, using Azure DevOps, using CLI, and I'll show you how to do that later on. And I've also got GitHub Actions down here, just show you how the different ways you can do DevOps, either through Azure DevOps or through GitHub Actions. And then we'll set up GitHub Actions for asset bundles as well. Let's look at asset bundles first, because that's the de facto way to deploy artifacts like notebooks and files to another environment. So to get started, you're going to have to first create yourself an asset bundle. I'm not going to show you how to do that, but I will show you that there's a good website. I think it's this one. I did have it up here a second ago. I think it might be this one here. So what are Databricks asset bundles? And if you just go to this website, which Learn Microsoft is Databricks Dev Tools Bundles. And if you scroll down, you'll see that there's a way down the bottom, which is to initialize a new bundle. What that will do, oh, clicked the wrong button. What that will do is create for you, in fact, it'll create a workflow. Or does it create a workflow? I can't remember. But it definitely creates this folder, this entire folder here that you can see on my screen. And if I just expand this folder, you'll see that it's got fixtures, it's got resources, these are your jobs. It's got a Scratchpad, like a notebook for exploring. It's got, and here's all your different sources. So there'll be your notebooks, your files, etc., etc. And I'll just put some extra stuff in here just to see how it works. And then you've got the Databricks YAML, which is very important. Now, you're going to have to make this your own, because, of course, I've got my Databricks workspace hosts in here. And you're going to have to put your email in there and such. So this is the email that's going to run the jobs. And this is the email that's got permission on that workspace. So once you've got your asset bundle created by your Databricks bundle init, then I like to browse to that. So we go bundle. So CD bundle works. I'm inside of this folder right here where you can see the mouse, and I could do something like Databricks bundle, maybe validate, just to make sure everything's good. And then I can do a Databricks. Let's do this. I've got it here. Where was the last time I did it? Deploy. Let's go to Databricks bundle deploy. And I can't remember what the tdev. I think it's something like that, right? So we want to, and the reason we're going to go to dev is just to show you that I'm going to push it to this, target dev, as you can see there on line 11, and it's going to push it to this Databricks workspace here. So just click OK or enter, then you'll see the building the bundle work. There it goes, uploading bundles to this path, because we never set a path here. So the path goes to the default, which is under workspace users, then under your name. When I do it to prod, obviously I've changed the root path, so you can do that as well. Now that's the way to do it, obviously from the command line, but we don't necessarily want to stop at the command line. We want to be able to use GitHub Actions to do the rest. So if you come and look in GitHub here, you'll see Databricks Asset Bundle. And there you go. So the deployment is complete, and that would have pushed it to this area here. So we'd have gone into there, into bundle, and here's all of your notebooks that you can start running. Obviously, this is just as you expect. Nothing different about this. You can open up your notebooks, run it against a cluster. You can even run it against a serverless. See if that works. Obviously, there's a few little nitty-gritties here which I was still trying to work on, but it gets your assets there, and that's exactly what you want. Now, if you go back to here and you see the YAML under GitHub Workflows, you'll see that it's got this idea. So let me make this a bit bigger. You see that we got the YAML starts here, and it says, okay, run this and ensure it only runs one job at a time. And then we're going to trigger, we'll be able to work off these branches. I've got a workflow dispatch here, which allows you to do something like this. If you go into the actions here, so if you go to actions, and then you go to asset bundle prod deployments, that's what I'll set up for. Then you can see that you can run the workflow from the main branch. Okay, that's what that's for. Now we're going to spin up an Ubuntu latest agent, and then we're going to check out the repo. Then we're going to set up. This is a neat way, by the way, to install CLI on an agent. It's just to run this here, and you can actually open up that on GitHub, and you'll see what it looks like. It's the actual official Databricks setup CLI. It actually runs this command here, which you can also run directly inside of your Databricks GitHub Actions if you wanted to. So over here, it sets up the CLI and then deploys the bundle. That's not to QA, but it's to prod. That's just the old text. And then it's using a secret here. This secret, now I had to use my personal access token here to do this. I couldn't figure out how to do this, get the service principal to do this, to deploy these asset bundles to production. That's something I want to work on in the future. But I just used a personal access token to deploy to the production environment, then also just a little test to see if we can run a job. So this is Databricks bundle run this job, refresh all. So you'll see that the first Databricks command is over here, Databricks bundle deploy, and then it's using the prod environment. And the next one is Databricks bundle run job. That's what we're doing here. So if you run this from here, it's going to run something like this. It's going to go deploy the bundle, and then it's going to go, if we look over here, it deploys that bundle there to this location. And if I show you imagine this is the production workspace now. You'll see that if I expand workspaces, there it is there. So here's all of my assets that I've now promoted to my next Databricks workspace. So you can see that every Databricks workspace can have this the source of truth, as it were. So if you're in production, you don't want to develop in production. You don't want to touch any files there manually. You want to do that first in all of your different environments, your dev, your test, your smoke, your performance, whatever environments you've got set up. You want to test it there and develop in those lower environments. And then once you've got your code sorted, and maybe you've got like a release branch or whatever you want to do, and deploy this that branch to your production environment. Right, let's get on to how we would do this with Azure DevOps. Now, Azure DevOps obviously is very well used, and so you can see that I've got all the writes up here on how to do it. The first thing you have to do, of course, is create. Let's get to my DevOps quickly. I would say there's a few things you've got to do. First of all, some variable groups, and inside your variable groups, you want to create your access tokens. I'll show you in a minute how to create your access tokens. And you can see that I've got my access tokens here for each environment. The pipeline itself, you can call it whatever you want. I'm not going to show you how to create a pipeline now, but I hope you know how to do that. The one thing that's you probably might need to do, maybe not, depending on your service connections, is to create a service connection that's got access to your Databricks workspace. Now, I'll give you an example. This one here is an app registration inside of my Enter ID. And this Enter ID, if I just go look at this one here has got access to, let me just see if it's got a federated credential. Yeah, so it's got a federated credential connected to Azure DevOps. So I'm using it as a service connection inside of my Azure DevOps over there. And this particular app registration, if we go back to it quickly, is at the number, the app ID is 9701. So if we go to our, and I believe it might be the, I'm not sure if it's the production one or the dev one, but if we go to manage identity and access and we look at the different environments, you'll see that that particular service principal is listed. There it is there. So this is the service principal that's got access to dev, and there's another service principal that's got access to both. But ideally, you want different service principals that can get to different workspaces, because production, you want to lock down as much as possible, but we won't talk about the ins and outs of that. But what we will talk about is if you click on the service principal and you go to secrets, you have to create yourself, generate a secret here, and then save that token inside of your library. So if you go, first of all, create your service connection, make sure that this service principal has got access to your Databricks workspace, create a secret, then you come to your library inside of DevOps, and you save that in, so I've got it saved in there, right? So you can call it whatever you want. You can see that name there. And that's what's going to be used in your pipeline. So if we go back to our pipelines quickly, and you see, for example, if you go inside this folder, this is where DevOps, Azure DevOps starts. It starts here on your CI/CD pipelines. You can see that I've got dev vars here, which is the library group inside of Azure DevOps. Here I've just given it the path to the notebooks. So what I'm trying to do here is just take files and notebooks from a folder and promote them to a Databricks workspace. That's all I'm doing. So it's kind of like doing what Asset Bundles does for the Databricks CLI, where it does Databricks bundle deploy. But at this time, we're using a different CLI command, which is Databricks workspace. I can't remember. It's, if we look inside here, we'll tell what it is. It is Databricks workspace import directory. So that's the command that we're going to use the CLI, and then we're going to get all the notebook. We'll get the notebook path, and then we're going to put it into this folder, shared, and then live for. And you can call that whatever you want. Shared is always there. You get users, shared, and I can't remember the other one. What's the other one? So we go back to here. Repos, shared, and users. Those are the three default folders you get inside of a workspace. Now, don't want to get lost. Where was I? So go back to this, go back to our CI/CD pipelines. We were talking about the libraries. I think you know how to do that now. So you got your libraries there, and you want to save your token that you generated with your service principal, and you'll save that to the library, and then you're going to access it that secret by calling it there with a $sign and then the open brackets. You do the same for production, of course. Save that into the prod vars library, and what you're going to do is go to the production workspace in this instance. Go to the service principal that's going to create the secret there, and then you save that to your DevOps pipeline library. So that's the first thing you got to do is use your service principals to create tokens, save them to your library, and you're going to access those tokens using this. Next thing we're going to say, all right, where are your notebooks that you want to push to a different workspace? Where are they? So they can be anywhere. In this case, they're under here, and you can see that these two notebooks I want to push to a Databricks workspace. So going back to this, so we've got our client ID, which is your app registration application ID. So that's the service principal that's going to be doing the work. And then the other thing that you need to get, which you may not be able to get, because if you work for a large organization, you're not going to be able to get hold of this necessarily. And I'll show you how to get to that, right? If we go to, you can just maybe ask your IT department, whatever it may be, or whoever can get access to this, maybe the person who does your infrastructure as code. If you go onto your accounts.azure-databricks.net space, you'll see that there's an account ID here. You need this number. That's the number you need. And that number, we go back to where we were, you're going to put inside, well, I've got a variables YAML file here. So I've got the resource group name, where my Databricks workspace is. I've got the service connection that's going to be used in Azure DevOps to promote or push the notebooks to that workspace. I've got the host URL there. I've got the account ID there, and I've got the app registration ID of the app registration client ID service principal that needs to go. All right, so that's all the stuff that you need. And the reason that you need this account ID is because we're going to have to create a token to do this. And that token needs quite high permissions, I suppose, because it's got to change stuff on the workspace, or at least write to the workspace. And you can see here that we're using client secret, client ID, and the account ID down there. And it creates a token. If you look at this curl, HTTP accounts. Now you can also get tokens on workspace level, but that didn't seem to work, so I had to go to the accounts level. And then you can see it creates it there, and then it gives a JSON response. And what you want to do is get the access token from that JSON response. And then you want to, I think this line here is actually putting it in the Databricks config file as the host and token. And then the next script is going to be then taking it's importing the directory from your local here, which is this area here. And it's going to take all the contents of this, and it's going to put it into the Databricks workspace. So going back to where were we? Down there. So that's the Databricks CLI command that we're going to ask the agent to deploy for us. And we are using an agent that is Ubuntu, I believe. Go back to the CI/CD here. Yeah, we're using Ubuntu here as well. I was toying with the idea of using my own agent, Windows agent. Can do it, but need to make this as simple as possible, so that you guys can also replicate this. Now that works, right? So if you go into your library here, pipelines, you'll see that when I run this, it's deployed, for example, to dev. So it installed Python, Databricks CLI is installed. This is just listing your notebooks that are in that folder. Authenticate with Azure CLI. Make sure I'm connected. I do just a little test, which says Databricks workspace list. shows us the available folders, and then it writes the notebooks to the workspace. So that works. And if you look at the dev environment, you'll see that if we go to shared live for, there's the notebooks there. So that's how Databricks for DevOps works, to promote or to copy files like notebooks and files to that area. Obviously, asset bundles are a lot more powerful because then you can, if you're working with workflows like jobs, for example, you can tell what the cluster needs to be. For example, and I think you can also install libraries and such on the cluster. Which, if you go to not source, I think it's under here. Here you go. So obviously asset bundles are much more powerful because then you can tell what the job cluster should be doing when it runs a job. In this case, I'm using PyPy to install Azure Identity, Azure Management for Data Factory, and I can tell the job what size that cluster should be. So if you're just doing a Databricks workspace copy of a directory to the workspace, that's fine. Maybe that's all you need, and you don't want to go the whole shebang and do asset bundles, then no problem. So you can use any one of these strategies. So going back to this, that's Azure DevOps in this folder. So if you want to have a look at Azure DevOps, just look at this folder. You've got your main pipeline here, so you'll start a new, or you create a new pipeline using the CI/CD pipelines, YAML. I think there's not a lot you need to change here except for your environment variables. So your resource groups in Azure is going to be different, and your service connections are definitely going to be different. Your host is going to be different. Your account ID is going to be different. All of this will be different, right? So you have to change that for your environment. So going back to, there you go. That wraps up DevOps. Now, if we want to look at the last thing, which is GitHub Actions, to do the same thing. So we want to take the same notebooks and promote them to a Databricks workspace. Then you can see this one here, right? So I call it Databricks Notebooks Deployment, and it's going to do dev and it's going to do prod. And what we need to do here is call the deploy notebooks YAML, and we're going to say which resource group it's in. As you can see, where the notebooks are and which host, Databricks host, you want to promote that to. So let's go look at that file. Lastly, to see how GitHub Actions works. So here we've got a few parameters that we need. And if we go here, we're using an Ubuntu agent again, and we are checking out the repository. We're logging into Azure, and we then installing Databricks, and then we're going to configure Databricks to connect to that host. And then once we connect to the host, we're going to run Databricks Workspace import directory, same command, same Databricks CLI command, and we want to get those notebooks from that path and put it into live. So this one is a little bit different. I mean, I could have put shared /live here. I could have put shared / Databricks notebooks, or whatever you want to do, right? So that's how it works. So this GitHub action works. Hopefully it works for you too. And you can do that. Ignore this one. I was trying to get secret scopes created, so don't worry about that. But here's your Databricks Assets Bundle GitHub Actions file. And this is your just using a straight CLI command, which is your Databricks Workspace import directory. All right, so all at once is two things: where the folder is that you want to import and where you want to import it to. So those are the two parameters that this Databricks CLI command takes. I hope that's helped you in finding out how you can take notebooks and files in a GitHub repository and push that to another Databricks workspace. I hope that works out nicely for you. How to use Databricks asset bundles. And if you haven't seen my other video on how to connect your Databricks extension in VS Code to Databricks, then go ahead and do that, and then you can use all the nice little different things like you can see in here. You can set up your environment, and you can connect to your different clusters and such, and then you can work from within within VS Code and execute notebooks from here instead of using your Databricks browser user interface. But bear in mind, you do need Unity Catalog for that. You can't do it with a legacy Hive metastore. So you do need the Unity Catalog on your Databricks workspace. Thanks for watching. My name is Clint Grove.